All right, we good?
Yes, we're live.
Nice. Welcome everybody. It's me and my brother Jeremy and a guest today, Andrew G. Herbert, aka Thor. And our podcast, as of this moment, is titled "Overthinking Human Connections." As I stumble through awkward hellos and insecurities, it's not a mouthful, is it, Andrew?
It's a mouthful, but in the best way possible because it gets to the
Okay,
point eventually, right?
we'll see.
Gets to something. Yeah.
I have a feeling it'll change in the next couple of days, but I feel like we're dialing it in, and that's good.
Yeah,
But the main, I think, point of it is like human connections. That's what's important to us, and that's something that we want to focus on and learn from you on, and just from your experiences and hear stories from you. So that's sort of the key, and the fact that we overthink it is true, and the fact that it can be awkward and we can feel insecurity around it. I assume that's true of pretty much everybody. I could be wrong, but
yeah. I mean, I have friends who have been in sales positions and are extreme extroverts, and they still tell me every now and then a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of maybe pressure going into any kind of relationship like that.
yeah. So I'm going to give a quick intro into our boy Andrew here.
Really
Today's
quick, I was
topic.
just gonna ask. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna ask really quick. Do you go by Andrew or Thor? Like, what should I refer to you?
Andrew, 100%. So I got the
Okay.
nickname Thor a long, long time ago. Started to become
Okay.
this persona that I have now. But my
Right
name is
on.
Andrew. Please call me
It's
Andrew.
not Thor. Okay, I was willing to do either one, so we'll go with Andrew today.
Awesome.
Right on. Thanks.
Yeah.
So today's topic, at least as of this moment, and if it ends up not being this, we'll just clip this out, is connecting quickly with people that you don't know or you haven't already met, and the importance of needing to do that because you do that at least in your job. Well, I'm
Right.
assuming, and so we're going to learn a little bit more about that from you today.
Great. Yeah.
Okay,
I
a
mean,
little bit about. Go ahead. You were going to say something, then I'll give an intro.
yeah, no, I was just going to say that's become what I do. I haven't always done this, but we can obviously get more into that as we head in.
Yeah, for sure. All right, this is what I have of my boy Andrew G. Herbert. He studied graphic design at Savannah College of Art and Design. He lives in
That's right.
Illinois. He's married to Amanda. He's got a 3-year-old son.
3-year-old son named Mason. That's right.
Mason, cool. And he's a professional long drive athlete and entertainer at Charity Golf International, and also a freelancer, longtime freelancer, creative director, senior designer, whatever that title is, du jour at Andrew G. Herbert. And some of the stats that I picked up from you that's interesting is you're a 3-time world long drive championship qualifier,
Yeah.
a world ranked long drive professional with long drives as long as officially 415 and non-officially 482 feet.
No, that is yards. Feet wouldn't be
Whoa.
too impressive. Might not make it into the professional ranks at that point, but
I'm assuming nobody believes that, but that's amazing. Amazing.
thank you.
So,
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Like literally since like you and I basically parted ways in 2016. I started picking up in the sport of long drive. A lot of people don't know what it is, but it's quite literally the Happy Gilmore sport where you hit a golf ball as far as you can. And picked it up as a hobby, while I was still being primarily a graphic designer, stuck behind a computer, not doing too much face-to-face interaction at that point.
mm-hmm,
Started
mm-hmm.
competing, did really well with it, and the accolades you just generously shared are kind of the accomplishments I was able to achieve on the tour. And because of those accolades and achievements early on, I was able to start working alongside Charity Golf International as a at the very core of it, we're hired to be entertainers and fundraisers for charities all over the country. And that's what I've been doing primarily as we'll call it the primary income, if you will, since 2019. And that was the first time that design, which was a huge part of my life,
Yeah.
became kind of a side gig for me. So
Oh,
Yeah, it's been
wow.
an interesting journey. Really, in 2019 till now, it's a totally different career path, and learning all kinds of new different things.
And do the people that go golfing at this place, do they come knowing they're going to be sort of entertained, or are they just coming to golf? Or are they coming to do
So
charity? What are they coming for?
it's most of the people know that there's going to be a long drive professional there. We send out marketing material ahead of time to make sure people are aware, kind of make it sort of an enhanced visual for the charity to kind of market that to get more golfers involved too. But sometimes people show up and like, who the heck is this guy? Like, what's he here for? And then I'll hit a ball for him, and they're like, oh, okay, he kind of knows what he's doing now. Okay, that's okay. But yeah, I'd say for the most part, people kind of have an idea of it. Might not have had any experience with our sport itself, but just have an appreciation for people who can hit a golf ball pretty far.
Are they trying to learn from you? Like you're
Some do.
okay.
Some ask for like if I give tips or lessons or whatever. And speaking about in a short amount of time getting to know people, I have anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes with these individuals, and there's no more than 4 people at a time with me on a tee box on the golf course. So having these kind of quick discussions, sort of getting to know each other just a little bit, having a good time, making sure they're involved, they're entertained, and making sure that they're leaving with a smile on their face too. But a lot of guys are like, so how do you do that? Like, what is the secret? Like, what are you doing? Because you're not a tall guy, and I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day, so I don't always look like the long drive professional that you might imagine. The 6'9" guys who look like refrigerators. Yeah, so everybody's always looking to learn, looking to improve their own game for sure.
But you do have humongous guns.
It's all for show. Does not help out with the drives at all, right?
Okay. It's all just in the how do you say that? The form. It's all form.
The torque, the twist.
Exactly. Yeah. The technique, the style. There you go.
Nice.
So maybe this is a dumb question, but would you consider yourself a professional golfer? I mean, that's like a professional sport aside from just golfing. Like, how good are you at golfing compared to driving?
So that's a lot of that's a great question. So some people, well done. We got long drive and golf. I'll try to get them again. So golf is like the PGA professionals who are making millions upon millions of dollars at these events, and I am not that. These guys are terrific in every aspect of the game, whereas long drive, literally hitting a golf ball as far as you can. That's what we're trying to do. There's accuracy involved, but we don't have to hit short game shots, putting, and all that. So those guys are a little bit of a step above us, quite a bit, because they just have a fully encompassing game. And I like to say that I'm a good golfer, but not an elite professional sort of tour quality player. Cool. But yeah, great question. Not a professional golfer.
Right on. Well, they have the all around package, but you may be able to drive further than some of them, right? Or all of them.
Yeah. So with my furthest competitive drive of 415, we put that into perspective, data driven information right here. The PGA Tour Pro on average drives the ball 298 to 305 yards.
Wow.
That's now not taking into the equation some of the outliers like Bryson DeChambeau and the people that can just hit it 340, 350 sometimes. So there is a difference in what we do, but again, our only goal is to hit it far, and there's a couple other variables that those guys are having to put into play.
Right on.
You just hit it right over the green, just right past it.
Yeah. I get up there and just don't even look, just hit it as hard as I can, right?
Can you Happy Gilmore hit it?
I do, and that's actually asked of me quite often at these events. Trick shots, Happy Gilmore shots, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of helps out with the entertainment factor of having people leave with a smile and hopefully all their teeth at the end of it too. So.
Yeah. Do you have some crazy reactions? Do people, I don't know, what's like some of the crazy reactions you've gotten, or it's just.
So I would say the best reactions I see are the truly genuine shock of people who have never kind of seen what we do in person. And they're like, I've seen it on TV, but as soon as you hit that ball, it just vanished and is just way out there. And so like you'll hear some curse words out there just kind of just leaking out unintentionally. And it's just like the genuine shock of seeing that and hearing it too. I love that. Like I love what I do now just because of those reactions, also with the rewarding aspect of helping out a lot of charities too. But the reactions are incredible.
That's cool. Really cool.
Are
Like
you
that.
like in tennis? Some people are grunters, and every time they hit the ball, they grunt really loud. It makes it a little more impressive, maybe.
Yeah, oh yeah. So I there's an aspect of showmanship that I will do at these events. Like every now and then, like I'll grunt or I'll say, "Hey guys, extra 5 yards guaranteed if you grunt right at impact."
Oh, nice.
So just like the tennis player thing, I don't actually do that when I'm playing golf or when I'm
Uh-huh.
actually. But you got to make sure you leave an impression some way, right? So.
It's not really a thing people do in golf, though, right? Nobody does that.
Unless they are like former shot putters or maybe tennis players that need to do that, right? But no, it's not very common.
They can't stop themselves.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
It's a gentleman's sport. You got to be quiet.
For the most part, it's kind of changing. There's sort of a little shift now into making golf more modernized and accessible. So,
You don't have to be a gentleman anymore.
well, I don't say that. You always want to be a gentleman, right?
Okay.
But like, it's starting to get a little bit louder. You don't always have to tuck your shirt in, that kind of thing. So, it's a funny thing to kind of hear somebody say, but yeah, it's advancing from what it used to be.
Yeah, that's good.
So it
So,
sounds. Oh, sorry. Just one other question. It sounds pretty entertaining. Like you're obviously entertaining people. How much do you play up the Thor aspect? Is that is that your persona on the course? Like you dressing up, or it's just kind of
So,
negative?
exactly what I was going to
so
ask.
I love it. You guys are on it. So, I kind of brought that nickname with me into the sport because some of my friends will call me that, and family members jokingly would refer to me as that because I used to grow my hair out pretty long and lengthy to donate. Every 2 or 3 years, I would donate my hair. And because it's blonde and because I have a beard and all that, it just kind of made sense. And the Golf Channel is who runs or used to run the long drive professional circuit. And they're all about finding ways to market it further. And so some guys build these personas or nicknames or whatever, and they're able to get that involved into it. So they had kind of picked up on people referring to me as Thor. So they kind of helped build that for me, saying, all right, here comes Thor getting his hammers ready for battle, talking about the drivers that would bring out. So I really kind of owe it to them for the growth that sort of brand, I'll say, got. So in that light, I receive all kinds of random Thor memorabilia gifts. And so I have a legit replica Thor hammer. I bring Mjolnir with me to every single event because some people like taking photos with it.
Nice.
And every other year I'll have the long hair before I cut it. So in that aspect, yes, I play it up because in my mind, with a guy with a marketing background and design, they probably will not remember the name Andrew Herbert, but they will remember that time they hit a golf ball with Thor. So it's kind of become this this persona beyond myself, and so I kind of have to play it up when I can.
So it sounds like you didn't show up and say, "Call me Thor."
Right? Yeah, that would be something else. I would say there were people who would have asked me that, like, did you come up with that? And I was like, it's a great name, and I have had that nickname before, but I didn't come saying, hey guys, this is what you got to call me on.
So you mentioned on your website that you actually did have that nickname as a kid for some reason.
Yeah, so that's actually what my grandmother would refer to me as, because I kind of had hippie parents growing up, and they let me grow my hair out when I was a kid, and so I had the long blonde hair running around, and all that. So she would call me Baby Thor, and thankfully that baby portion was knocked off when I became an adult. So
Right. We could bring that back.
That's
that
not
would be
the
something,
worst
right?
nickname to have. I don't think anyone
No.
would ever refer to me as Thor. So that's
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm quite thankful because they could have called me like Meatball or something, and I would have been out of it. So
you were probably pretty tough kid, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I was
Or
an
just
art
kind of the
student
blonde
my
hair.
entire life. I was on the golf team, so I didn't have like the stereotypical like jock persona growing up. And I went to a very small rural school here in Illinois, and there weren't really any kind of cliques. You know, I see them on TV all the time in those big high schools and all that. I was like, we're kind of too small of a school to have that. So there was never really a need to be a tough guy. You know, so and never really had to worry too much about that.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned how you and I actually know each other, but we worked together for the people out there, all the people listening to this. There's lots. You and I worked together for years as graphic designers for the federal government.
That is correct.
And you were, I consider you one of the strongest designers I've ever known in all my places I worked. You're a strong designer.
I just got chills, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like you know, it's part of who you are. It's part of your life. Like you like to. If we do a 5K, you're gonna design it. You're gonna like design the whole thing. Like you're like designing your life. It's not just what you're getting paid for, but it's just who you are. You design stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah. So anyway, you're one of the guys that I work alongside for years and look up to as a designer, and you have a strong style about you.
I appreciate that. And in the same light, I got to say, working with you for as long as I did, and Jeremy, you might appreciate this, you might laugh at it, but John was kind of the cool guy, like known throughout all offices that we worked in. That and no joke, like he just dripped in style. He would come in.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He was able to walk that fine line of like, I'll call him like the perfect corporate hipster, because he brought his own style, but was not able to, you know, stray from that corporate line, make sure everyone was pleased with what he was doing, and just always coming up with the best ideas and always knew how to execute them too. So not only a fun, awesome guy to work with, but an absolute doer and executor when it came to everything too. So it's awesome to see you guys bringing this to life, and I know it's going to be successful because of that.
No, that's
I'm
really
impressed
cool.
that you just made that up on the fly. That was something.
No,
never.
I know John pretty well as a brother, but yeah, it's interesting to hear coworkers and the inside scoop, like inside the actual office. So I know. I know how but yeah, he's cool. He's got style.
I invited the only coworker of mine that's ever liked me.
Okay.
That's not true. Now, one final fact about John. He and I were also on our office softball team together.
Oh,
and
yes.
So he's also an extremely athletic. Can't hit it out of the infield, but that's okay because he still got on base.
If I can just get on first base, I can steal my way around. Even if they don't let me steal, I just do it anyway.
That's right. That's why the umpires did not like us. That's right.
Dude, that's really funny. I was actually like the exact same way. I played Little League baseball. That's literally all I could do. Like I couldn't hit out of the infield, but I was fast.
I always loved baseball more than I did golf, and I wish I could have pursued that, but just no future in it for me.
Yeah, baseball's fun. It's cool.
Well, you never played it on at least maybe you did in Little League or something.
So I played up until my sophomore year of high school, but at that point I started to see the future in golf, and the more I would play golf, the more likely I could try to get a scholarship somewhere, and it was an easy decision when I also was not put in to play too often. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to golf instead. And ended up turning out.
And then you played golf in college, right? And how
That's right,
were you pretty good on that team?
So our whole team was pretty phenomenal the whole 4 years I was there. I was able to be a starter on the team those 4 years I was down in SCAD. We were ranked as high as 5th in the nation my junior year, and I was able to receive All-American honors my junior and senior year. In AIA, which is kind of like a Division II, Division III hybrid if you compare it to the NCAA. But just a blast. Being able to play golf, go to a design or an art school and get a degree in design was incredible. So yeah, I would say I was competitive and loved being able to golf as kind of my job while I was in college. So
that is super cool. Where is that
was
school
an awesome
at?
experience. Right in the heart of Savannah, Georgia. So downtown Savannah, Georgia. You'll see buildings scattered all throughout the place.
Cool.
And man, it's grown incredibly from when I was there. I think there were under 4,000 students enrolled when I was there, and I think they're up to around 12,000 now. So it's a big boy now.
Very cool.
I've never been there, but I've heard good things about Savannah. It's a beautiful city.
It is. It is very historic, obviously, and one of the cool things that SCAD does is they'll take these buildings, old historic buildings that might be starting to become decrepit and break down, and fix them up. There's a historical preservation major there. They kind of bring those back to a working place, and also find ways to make those actual buildings for the university as well.
So it seems to me like you were good enough at golf that this could have been your mindset or the thing that you were thinking was your future. Yet you went to a college that was very specific in design. And so I'm sort of imagining you in college thinking you've got these very two viable tracks that you could go down. And you at the time you chose design.
Yeah, so I kind of bring this back a little bit further. My father and my mother are two great influences in my life. My mother was my art teacher, my very first art teacher. She was my fifth grade teacher, my art teacher in junior high and grade school. And my dad was a huge golfer. So I kind of learned from those two as my mentors in both, and in parallel had those kind of paths be my life journey so far. And with that decision of pursuing design over golf after college, again, a pretty easy decision because, well, one, you either have to be extremely good at golf to pursue it beyond just playing in college, which I did not have that game, nor the time or dedication or finances that you kind of need to be able to live that life. But I also just really enjoyed a lot of the professors I had at SCAD my junior and senior year. And I graduated in 2009, which at that moment in time was around the recession era of that time period. And a lot of my professors were saying, hey, if you have an opportunity, and this was with the federal government, I was already given a conditional offer of employment going into my final semester there. They're like, if you got an opportunity, take it. There's not a lot of people are going to have an opportunity right now. So the kind of perfect storm of things collided my senior year, and shot up to DC that next summer and started in early fall. So design is a thing that I'll never leave. Love it. Still, the first thing I do when I get an idea is design a logo, even if I don't need it. Just kind of that brainstorming of having some sort of creative outlet for sure.
I think John has that in his blood too. He does that same thing. I'm like, I don't think we need a logo now. It's just like, oh, there's 10 logos. Sweet. And they're cool.
So that's how it works. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting that if you, of all the things you have two parents, of all the things they could be doing, or you could choose to do, you chose one that was your dad's thing and one that was your mom's thing. And I'm sort of like wondering, did you miss something? Or, or I'm also wondering, like, are you that tight with your parents? Or that respectful of a person, of a child, that you're like, I just respect my parents so much that I'm just going to do what they taught me? Or is it just that you grew up with that, and so you just fell in love with those things? That's sort of what's on my mind.
Man, that's a great question. So first of all, extremely close to my parents. They're incredible people. I actually live less than a mile away from them now. Have always been incredibly supportive to me. And there may have been a part of my subliminal mind that, you know what, it wouldn't be too bad to follow these people in their footsteps and kind of walk the lives that they have. But also there was just I've always been very passionate about creativity and art and kind of expressing myself in that way. And then a great sort of mirror opposite of that is getting out and kind of being on a golf course, just letting everything out of your head and releasing your basically physical stresses out there. So it was almost like I didn't really feel like I was mimicking them, just kind of creating my own path in their shadows, if you will.
It just worked.
But yeah, it just worked out. I think it was just an easy thing for me to fit into, and two things that I felt very passionate about and felt that I was good at. So
That's cool. Just curious, do you have many siblings?
I'm sorry?
Did you hear that? Oh, I just asked, do you have many siblings?
I don't. I have an older brother. He's 5 years older than me, and he
Okay.
also played a big role in me pursuing all sports that we possibly could play. But golf specifically, I picked up a set of clubs as early as I could just to keep up with my brother and my dad. So
Mm, yeah.
awesome older brother. He's a pilot with Delta down in Atlanta, but
Nice.
he's a super genius as a family. I'll never live up to his smarts, but I think I'll get him on bench press.
There you go. That's all that matters. Right on. That's cool.
So in addition to you being a great designer, in my observation, you're also especially good at connecting with people. So like when we were working together, and we had a bunch of people in our office, and we had a cool culture. But you were one of the people that brought that culture. You're one of them, right? And I'm not saying like you're the only one. There was a bunch. It was a great place,
Yeah.
but like you were one of the people that I sort of observed as somebody who connects others, wants us to have a good time. I think about the yearly 5K that, or maybe the Movember that you sort of bring that back. And there was a bunch of things, but connecting people. And I guess my question is like, do you think this is something that you were born with, that you learned from your parents, or that you learned over time was an important thing?
I would say that um, my answer might have a couple layers to it, but at its core, I kind of learned that because there are places I've been throughout my life that I didn't always feel I belonged to or maybe connected with. And I tried to learn how to become connected to that. And in moments where I might see other people feeling how I did, and not being able to connect or be a part of something, I want to make sure that they did feel included, sort of adding a bit of inclusiveness to that. And so I don't even consider myself good at it. It's just something that I always wanted to allow kind of opportunity for people to connect with others. And that's where all these wild and kind of crazy ideas that I would come up with in our old department were, like little networking opportunities and things like that. Also kind of selfishly so I could design everything around it, but just giving people opportunity to step away from their computers, get off of the chat and start talking to people face to face, because
Mm.
that's when people can let their guard down. That's when people can kind of, when you're seeing somebody eye to eye, when you're hearing their voice, there's a totally different connection that can happen at that point. So understanding someone better, hearing their words versus reading them is a big thing.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the drivers behind this podcast is in overthinking human connections, and the overthinking part is sort of just a jab at Jeremy and I both. We think that we overthink everything, but also that the idea of human connections, and have human connections become less of a thing. Is it something we struggle with more? Is it just the nature of technology and the nature of the world these days? Is it something that human connections is not not as strong as it should be?
I mean, short answer, absolutely. Like, there's far more opportunity now to hide yourself and hide behind, many windows and screens, and
Yeah.
still feel like you're involved in some way. And for some people, that's incredible. That's maybe the only way they can do that. But there is a lot of missed opportunity with these more meaningful interactions, I would say, where um, it's all about understanding another person's perspective, maybe the path that they've been on and where that's led them to now. And you can't always get that when you're reading a comment on social media or seeing what might be a veil of an image that they post on social media, that kind of thing. Um, I I would say that I'm a big fan of technology. I think there's a lot
Yeah,
of
me too.
advancements that are happening, right? That are uh, kind of diluting that connection aspect, as far as a more deep connection or maybe a more meaningful connection. But it's also enhanced the ability to connect with a broader audience and a lot of additional people. Like, hey, a podcast. You're
Yeah.
probably gonna be getting people over in Bangladesh, and maybe up in France. You never know who are going to call you and be like, hey, I want to be on your podcast next.
Yeah, I hope
And I'm
so.
not saying because of me. I don't actually have friends over there, but you never know. You never know.
No, it is because of you.
Yeah, I hope so. And I love that we're, I call this face to face. I mean, it's sort of like one step removed from a perfect face to face, but it's really close.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it would take me 3 days to drive to where you live.
I don't
And
recommend it.
I hope one day we can do that. But it is beautiful that we're able to have this conversation. And in some tech, it's hard because you sort of have to like talk and then you have to stop and then the next person sort of talks. And the more people you have, the more awkward it is.
Mhm.
3 is almost like the max where it gets much worse after that.
Yeah.
But it's getting better.
You don't have to raise your hand, speak that way.
Yeah, your digital hand.
Yeah, no, so in that light, absolutely. Technology is opening a lot of doors to have information like this be shared, and also the seeing your guys' faces. Haven't met you until today, Jeremy, but we're just talking 8 years since I've seen John, and he looks exactly the same, which is incredible.
A little less hair.
Is that for good luck? Is that what you?
I can't
My
tell when
muscles
you guys
are
being
bigger. I
sarcastic,
thought you would
but
acknowledge that.
Well, we already did. I'm sorry, we skipped over that.
Oh.
Looking great. Yeah.
It's kind of hard with these angles to really see the real size of each of us, which is probably a good thing. But
Yeah, it's a good thing.
maybe they can see through it.
I'm 6'5".
There you go.
Yeah.
And huge.
I'm huge.
I love it. That must be a really big microphone.
This thing's massive.
Oh man, but yeah. So going back a little bit to the connections thing, in the job that I'm in now, again working at roughly 60 to 70 different charity events all over the country. Every one of those events, I am on the tee box with 3 to 4 to 5 individuals at a time. At the heart of what I'm doing, I'm becoming a quick salesman for the charities that I'm there, because we're asking people to donate to these great causes. And in that light, I'm having to connect with these individuals very quickly. And again, I was telling you, I got like maybe 3 to 10 minutes, depending on how slow or how quick the pace of play is going. And beyond basically asking them for donations on the charity's behalf is, again, making them smile and have a good time. And a lot of that I've learned is listening more than speaking. And easy for me. I'm an introvert. I'm 100% fine with passing the mic over to them and having them talk. But in that same light, you have to learn how to kind of bring them into that light and have them become comfortable with sharing some words. And a lot of that for me is being just as authentic and sort of guard down as I can about it, and bringing in the if you can call my personality as much of my personality as I can in a quick amount of time, and kind of letting them know, hey, I think I'm a good guy, like you can trust me, like that kind of thing. But it's never been an easy thing for me until maybe last year. So this is the 5th year I've been doing it, of being the one who instigates the conversation and starts that interaction. So
it's
learning
it's one tee box.
One tee box, yeah. So
one tee box,
out of
you
the
have the
18
chance to connect with
holes,
them.
I'm on one of them.
Yeah, and do you have some kind of a formula that you've developed, or is it just sort of you're winging it every time?
It's a little of both. So there's a lot of kind of reading the crowd that goes on, because I go all over the country now, and there are different attitudes in different sections of the country that you kind of have to be aware of. But also, because of who I am, kind of process driven, I do have kind of a couple of things that I'll initiate or engage in that'll help kind of the conversation start. But golf, sport, what I do first and foremost, if I see 2 carts kind of driving up towards me, I'll start the slow clap, big smile, right? Just getting into it, kind of making them, letting them know it's going to be a fun experience regardless. So just really almost, I guess you could call myself a little bit of a clown at that point because, we're just trying to entertain.
Mhm.
So yeah, the formula can kind of go in different ways from there, but always starts off with some kind of hopefully funny or fun interaction for sure.
Yeah, so sort of like allowing yourself to be the clown, allowing yourself to be what does that do? Does that I mean, yeah, you said that it sort of gives them permission to know this is going to be a fun experience. What else do you think that does?
I think when people might hear of a professional like out there, they might have like this kind of image of somebody who's really stuck up or really full of themselves, and I want to make sure that that's immediately slashed in half
Okay.
and not true because there's maybe a filter some people might put on. Whereas if I'm the one who's sort of looking a little goofy to start it off, they're like, oh, okay, he's just another guy, it's not just this whatever. I'm not going to use any word like that. It's just like a real stiff guy up there who's going to make sure that we're not going to enjoy ourselves out here because we're on a golf course. We
Yeah.
want to have a good time. We don't want to get stuck with this guy. So allowing them the opportunity to kind of do the same, show me their own personality.
They probably love you by the end, right? At the end of the 3 minutes, they're like you're
I
their best
mean,
friend, right?
I would hope so. I get a lot of great feedback, but
Yeah.
you never know, right? Because some
Yeah.
guys are different, some ladies are different, and they don't want to be interacted with at all when they're on the golf course. And I, of course, will never stand in the way of that. But the goal is to definitely feel something where it's either laughing, impressed, just having a good time in general, a memorable experience when they leave the tee box. So hopefully that's always a good memory, but
Yeah.
not always in
I
control of that.
John sent me a link of one of your videos. It was a Vimeo video of when they pull up and you're there. And that was the first impression I got. Like, wow, this guy seems cool. He seems fun and just seems like a good time. It seems like you put smiles on people's faces, which is cool.
Thank you.
And I was going to say, like, I'm surprised you say you're an introvert, and maybe I'm not, I
Me
don't
too.
know enough about either, but you seem totally extroverted. You seem friendly and social and nice and everything, which maybe those are stereotypes, but yeah, it's surprising to me. So that's cool.
Yeah.
that you're
So,
able to do that as an
and
introvert.
it's, first of all, thank you. Because I've had to actually work quite hard on sort of flipping a switch, if you will, and becoming more extroverted while still, being myself and showing my personality. But in full disclosure, all honesty, when that event is over and I head to the airport or I get in my car, like that is the calm that I need for the next 3 to 4 hours to kind of recover myself. But the job is entertaining for myself. Again, I said I love what I do. Very rewarding to work with a ton of different charities. It's become, I'll say, easy because I've allowed myself to sort of adapt, because I've always kind of hid behind this introversion. And being a designer, you can live your entire life that way if you want to, because you got a computer that's right in front of you. You had just one moment to kind of finish this email real quick, right? And kind of stepping outside of that, out of my own comfort zone, which is a huge thing, stepping out of a comfort zone to make yourself a better person. Seeing areas where you might be lacking that are also kind of holding your own life back in any certain way. And that's exactly what I found out through my experiences, and it sort of helped elevate my own professional life, if you will, because of that.
Cool. Is that something you were searching for, like you wanted when you were graphic designing? Because it sounds like you liked graphic designing. Were you like,
yeah.
man, I just want to interact with more people, and you wanted that,
Nope.
or you had to kind of become that? No.
Yeah, so I definitely
Okay.
was not searching for that.
Okay.
It was a necessity for me to learn to do what I do well, but it was not something I necessarily wanted to do. Now that I have learned how to do it, though, it's helped me become better at parties and talking with people, and going out and just kind of having this small talk with individuals that I normally never would do. Like even when John and I would work in the department, I would get into an elevator, and John, you might have been in there, but I'd be the guy that would be looking down at my shoes the whole time and just like waiting for the door to open. And it's almost silly looking back to the kind of controlled environment I was trying to create for myself to not be able to meet or interact or eye contact with people. So it's it's just it was a big learning experience, but still learning, always learning. But now having the job that I have and being able to rely on that makes so many more interactions more meaningful and easier to start.
That's awesome. Yeah, really cool.
I don't
Thanks.
remember you being that guy in the elevator. I really don't. I think that in my observation, you were always. I mean, yeah. I think in my observations, you were always really, really friendly. And I think maybe you just some things you've said that that was a value to you. That was something that was just important to you, connecting with people or being friendly or making them feel comfortable or something. I never guessed that because that was a value, you were actually overcoming something that was hard for you.
Yeah, so I think I don't blame it on where I grew up, but I wasn't sheltered. Like I just lived in a town of 500 people. Like that's where I'm at now. That's where I grew up. My junior high class, eighth grade, graduated with 16 people. Went into a high school that were 4 towns combined. Graduated with 90 people. So always smaller groups that I was dealing with. Then from the high school I went to college. Big shock for me. Being in a very diverse area with a ton of people. I'm gonna almost say like I kind of turtled up a little bit, kind of shelled up a little bit my freshman year, and kind of slowly had to work out of that. So it was almost like never really allowing myself to experience exactly what my surroundings were, and using that kind of shelled off sort of introversion as a vice or a defense mechanism, if you will, and kind of hid behind that cloud for as long as I could when I could. But yeah.
Hmm. Would you say there's things about the graphic design that you miss, like that job, or would you say this is your dream job, the golf stuff? It sounds like this is your main thing that you'd want to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a little both. I miss that I'm not designing more than, or not designing as much as I used to, but I'm hitting a golf ball and making a living out of that. And that's definitely a dream come true for me. Um,
Yeah.
didn't think it would be in this way. Again, I didn't get into long drive until 2018 is when I first started doing it. So I had already been working as a designer professionally for almost 10 years at that point. So one of those you never know until you try kind of tales, but I won't get into the full details. But I do miss design, but I'm in a job that I absolutely love. So
Cool.
Yeah, congrats for that, by the way.
thank you.
That's,
Thank you.
Yeah.
something that I deeply admire in people who leave their 9 to 5. Like you've left your W-2 job or 9 to 5 to like make your own path. I mean, this is sort of like a contractor position, right? Or is it a full time?
Yeah, 100%. So we'll get into you said it first. So the tax codes, I'm a 1099 contractor. I get those sent out at the end of the year. And yeah, there was a bit of sort of risk and sort of scare when leaving any 9 to 5, right? Because that's solid, kind of not necessarily risk free, but comfort. There you go. Outside of the comfort zone. There we go. So leaving that to pursue this, first of all, my wife was awesome, very understanding, and not necessarily allowed me, but supported me in that endeavor. But yeah, so stepping outside again in my comfort zone and pursuing this full time was the decision we made in 2021, and it's been pretty great since then.
And how do you compensate for the lack of benefits?
Still working on that. Yeah, exactly. So there's no employee health care, right? So it's all on us. 401k, that's me trying to make sure I get everything sorted out for our family. And then kind of with this podcast in mind, the benefit of having coworkers and having cooler talk and all that. It's kind of a far lonelier job that I have now because I'm traveling constantly. When I'm done at the event, I'm by myself, and a lot of that is recovery for me. Like I said, sitting in that car or on that airplane for 3 to 4 hours.
Regaining your energy.
Exactly. But that doesn't also offer those creative conversations that I could have with John on the way, up to go get lunch or something like that. So,
Yeah.
learning how to sort of make sure mental health is a priority as well, and making sure there are opportunities for me to go out and see my friends when I can, and be with the family as much as possible, and pop in and say hi to my parents, because human interaction is a great dose of medicine for a lot of things.
So I'm an extrovert, and I get my energy from. You don't act surprised.
Thanks, John.
No, no, I'm not surprised.
I just thought I would say that in case anybody didn't know.
Which they don't. They don't know you. It's good.
Yeah.
But
Right,
we do.
right.
So it was funny for us.
Yeah.
I get energy from people. I sit and look at a computer all day, and I'm like, my energy is draining all day long, and I make up every excuse possible to get up and talk to people. You might have noticed that. And when I hear you say you experience loneliness, what you're talking about is because of travel and being alone a lot. Like, to me, that sounds like the perfect, my misunderstanding of like an introvert. It sounds like the perfect opportunity to just be like gaining your energy all the time. Am I off on
Yeah,
that?
so that's I would say halfway there, because there's a point where, like, I'm recovered, I'm feeling good, but I just want to be home and see the wife and kids. Or, man, I haven't seen my friends in quite a while. It would be very kind of therapeutic to go golf with those guys instead of being at an event and golfing with people I don't know. Not that that's not great, right? But there are definitely aspects where, as an introvert, there are certain people in my life that do give me that energy that you get from just being around people, that I
Gotcha.
get specifically from certain individuals in my life. That's kind of the I don't know what they call it, but the smaller group is quality over quantity, I guess you could kind of say in that regard.
Yeah, like
But
an inner circle, like a tight inner circle, and that's sort of
yeah,
your needs are taken care of with that small group.
yeah, yeah, and so that's again, I'm not trying to say that I'm 100% an introvert anymore, because you can kind of grow in and out of those phases. But there's definitely an aspect where um, I would like to maybe go out and have a cup of coffee with a friend, or whatever, instead of grabbing a cup of coffee by myself in the airport.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I was gonna say, do you like the traveling aspect of it? Because that sounds really cool, just be able to travel to a lot of places, but I'm sure there's downsides.
Yeah.
And sorry,
So
one other question: Does your
yeah,
do
go.
you, does your family already go ever get to go with you?
Right. Yeah. So when I first started this job, loved to travel, because that's so exciting. You're
Yeah,
experiencing all these places, going to places I had never even thought of going before, for work. And that quickly fades. The more time you spend in airports, the more time you spend behind your dashboard in your car, without your family or your friends by your side.
yeah,
Um, so I would say in the past 2 years, the travel has become the hardest part of the work that I do, because
mhm,
I did the math, because I'm preparing for tax season. Drove 37,000 miles in my truck this year,
Wow.
and I had
mm,
roughly 32 flights as well. So
wow,
lot of
yeah,
lot of time just traveling. When I can, I definitely bring my family with me. We have sort of stops now that are events that I go to year after year, that I'm able to kind of rely on. And so we get to go up to Michigan in the summer. That's where my wife is from, and see her family, stay there. I get to work one day of it, and we get to, be with her family. We get to go to Florida for most of the winter now, because there aren't many events that happen in Illinois where I'm at in the winter. So I get to bring them down. We stay in an Airbnb for a while. I do some events
mm,
down there. And when it makes sense, we'll sort of make these little vacations, or whatever you want to call them, kind of work vacations together, and makes it so much better for me, because there's a lot of bit of guilt of being away from the family.
mm,
That sort of dad guilt of, I want to provide for my family, but I also want to give them time, and finding that perfect mix. But yeah, every opportunity I can, when it makes logistical sense to bring the family, we make it happen.
cool, great,
And you mentioned the term mental health and feeling like your mental health is not what it should be at all times because of spending too much time alone. And have you come up with a way to address that concern, that challenge?
So I would say it's definitely a pursuit still, but it's I kind of, if you can call one of the silver linings of COVID, the kind of rejuvenated effort for people to look into their own mental health during those
Sure.
times was sort of what kind of made me more aware of it. And that's kind of when I realized that, oh man, I actually do carry a lot of stress and anxiety with me. And a lot of it was immediately when I became a father. I'm sure that's relatable, but it's
Coincidence.
also, yeah. So finding those healthy outlets, whether it's, breathing exercises or, running or something like that, being able to just sort of decompress everything that happens in this tiny stretch of area in your body, and not letting that affect how you feel is a tough challenge, but a necessary one to look into. And that's something that my wife and I make sure we're supporting each other in. So.
Nice. Breathing exercises, running. Those are the two
Yeah, and
things that come to your
those are
mind.
just something that came to my mind, and because I just started running, because when you and I knew each other, we were doing those 5Ks and all that, and in the time that we have now not
I
seen
mean,
each
one a
other,
year.
one a year, one a year. But we would run and prepare for it
Yeah,
and
that's
all
right.
that.
For
So
for a
don't
couple
don't sell
weeks,
don't sell yourself
we'd
short.
prepare.
Well, anyway, I used to run a little bit and just stopped completely, and
Yeah.
kind of saw how that was important for me, whether it was just the endorphins or whatever are happening when I run, but something very freeing of being outside. And even though it's cold right now, I'll run outside just to get that fresh air. Again, therapeutic, clearing the head, focused on just making it back home without hurting anything. As I get older, that's important. And then also, my wife is trained in meditation and yoga, and she has been very influential in focusing on your breathing and how that can kind of manipulate your stress levels and heart rate, and helped me when I was competing on tour too, because you get too much adrenaline and you're just kind of going crazy. You got to come down from that a little bit. So learning how to control your breathing and learn how that can affect every aspect of your mood and your stress levels is critical for some of the situations I get into and my mental state at times.
Nice.
And I'm guessing you go to the gym quite a bit. Is that kind of a separate thing, or you just didn't want to mention that? Or
Yeah, so oh man, I used to go every single day before I got married and had a kid. Every single day,
Okay.
I was a gym rat. My wife and I were able to kind of build our dream home in 2019. So my gym is like right across this wall right here.
Right on.
So I
Nice.
do go to the gym when I can, but kind of finding ways to reincorporate that into my daily routine is a little challenging with a toddler at home too.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot or anything. I just figured. I'm sure you go to the gym more than I do, but yeah, I was just curious.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know your routine, but we can exchange notes.
No, it's about this, so we don't need to get into that.
Gotcha.
That's more obvious than me saying I'm an extrovert.
Yeah,
Ouch.
I guess I should
Shots
state
fired.
the obvious.
Shots fired. Wow.
No, it's a good thing. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you're spoiled.
Right on.
It was something I was going to ask. It was right on the tip of my tongue. Now I forgot.
While he thinks, I just had one question, and you've given us so much good stuff today, like for real.
Yeah.
But is there anything along those lines? Is there any kind of advice? And I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but anything you might suggest or recommend to couples or families or individuals in a similar situation to you that would help them mental health wise, or connect, or with work, or anything in the past couple of years, as we've all been kind of struggling in certain ways, in similar ways, I'm sure.
So probably without TMI of my own relationship with my wife, but learning how your words are heard, and even though when you speak and how you think you are saying something isn't always the way that people consume the words that you say. So being more aware of what you do, how you do, and what you say and how you say it has been very knowledgeable, or a learning experience for me, and how I can communicate externally with my wife or with strangers on the golf course. Delivery is everything, and timing is almost even more important. So finding a means to not always say what's on your mind, but thinking about how that person might be receiving that information when you say it. So not necessarily overthinking things, but at least thinking how they might hear it would be that kind of sounds counterintuitive to your subtitle though. So that might not make it into this episode.
No, I mean, I think that's great advice for sure. Yeah, I don't know if it has to do with overthinking. I think you're doing it the right way. If you are overthinking, that's the correct way to do it, right? Just paying attention and being aware of how messages are received. But yeah, no, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm hesitating to ask this, but I want to ask anyway. Like, if you were sort of speaking generally there, and I would love for you to give us a more specific example, if you can.
Okay.
Without offending your wife.
Right. No. So this is all on me. And yeah, no, I get it. So this is my personality. If I see a frown or not a smile or maybe low energy or something, like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? Because the way I am, the way my characteristics have evolved into who I am, is I'll kind of take responsibility for how that person's feeling, even if it has nothing to do with me. And that irritates the crap out of my wife, because it's typically just something that she's dealing with and going through, and it's an added stress for her to then think that I'm wondering if it's something that I did. So I'm basically learning how to take myself out of somebody else's problem, because it's almost a selfish way, I think now, of thinking about it, and being more of the ear and not the mouth in that situation, which is a big step in my understanding of how to engage with situations like that.
Have you heard the term empath?
Yeah.
Which is like, if I understand it right, it's sort of taking people's emotions. You have extreme amounts of empathy, and you sense their emotions, and you sort of take them on yourself. Is that what you're explaining?
I would say a little bit of that, and then also almost feeling like maybe I am one of the reasons that person is feeling that way. So like if somebody's not feeling great, is it something I did? That kind of thing. So not quite all of all of that, but yeah.
So what is if I can follow up really quick, like what is the shift or the change? It's like she's wanting more of just somebody to listen and understand. Is that
exactly
correct?
I'll say it's the shut up and listen kind of tactic of just hear me out, or let me express what's going on, rather than asking about it, that kind of thing of hey, what's going on, like, are you okay, so that's where the delicate balance of the lingo and speaking comes in. Yeah.
You've seen that sort of silly YouTube video, It's Not About the Nail, and if you haven't, you should go see this.
I think I should, yeah.
The wife has a nail sticking out of her forehead, an actual like nail. And so she has this problem because her head hurts. And it's pretty obvious like what the problem is.
Right.
And so he's trying to explain to her, like, well, you have a nail in your head. You should take that out, right? And she, every time that he tries to address the problem and solve the problem, tell her, because he knows exactly what needs to happen here, like, just take the nail out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Then she gets offended, and she's like, it's not about the nail. I just want you to sort of like listen to my problems. I don't want you to solve the problem. And he's getting frustrated because it's like, dude, I know how to solve this problem. So you should go watch that YouTube video. That's a good.
That resonates. Yeah. So I'll have to go watch it. Yeah.
So just leave the nail in. That's the lesson, John.
Well, that's the funny part of it, and like that's what leaves. I'll just throw our gender under the bus, us sort of baffled and wondering, like, is that what she wants? Like, she doesn't want me to solve her problem. She just wants to leave the
Mhm.
problem there, but just like say something like, oh, that must be hard. And let's just leave the problem there. But I'm just gonna, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a
Again,
marriage
kind of seeing
therapist. I'm
where
not a
they're
marriage
coming from
counselor.
and understanding what they're going through. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No right
Yeah,
or wrong answer, I guess.
yeah, that's cool. I just want to say, I think you definitely know what you're talking about more than I do for sure, because I have problems communicating too in that way, and it can cause problems and it's very difficult. So it's easy sometimes to talk about it and be like, oh yeah, that's easy to understand or whatever. But it does cause problems. And anyway, I appreciate you sharing because that is great advice.
Yeah. Lots of good advice. And man, it's so good to see you again, Andrew.
You too, man. This is I'm glad you guys chose me as one of your first guests, and always awesome to connect with you. And great to meet you and connect with you too, Jeremy.
Yeah, you too. It's been awesome. Super cool. Like, we really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really interesting. Thanks for
And
letting us dig a little deeper and get to know you a little bit
Yeah,
more. Thanks for the personal questions and everything. Is
yeah, absolutely.
super
That's
interesting.
yeah.
wasn't expecting to get into that, but it came out right.
Well, and you have a 3-year-old child now. So congrats on that. And that's
Thank you.
as I know, I have 5.
Yeah.
That's a whole different world, and it's it's wonderful and it's terrible also. So you get
Yeah,
to
I know. I
experience all
say it
that.
all the time. The scariest and greatest thing we've ever done is that 3-year old little champ up there.
Yeah, terrifying. Before we end, I feel like I need to tell one of the coolest things that you do every year is you make a Christmas card of your family that are really
I
funny,
just
and maybe
shared
we
that with
can
you. Yeah.
somehow share one of those. But yeah, I think your son's levitating this year in the air, and
Yeah.
in the
So he's
past,
he's jumping off the chair, but in the moment he is levitating.
oh,
That's right.
it looks like he's like so high, he's just sort of like just floating there as some extraterrestrial. In the past, there's been some really, you've heard of awkward family photos. It's
Oh yeah.
like there's maybe that's going too far, but
So
they're
you're kind
good.
of hitting the nail on the head because that's what we're trying to kind of do is
Yeah,
be goofy, have like for instance in most of the first 4 generations we're not looking at the camera, we're kind of looking off like into
yeah.
the distance like you would pose at JC Penney's or whatever it is. So it's not necessarily making fun of the stereotypical Christmas photo because those are beautiful and every family looks awesome when they do it. We just kind of want to show it in a different way and be goofy and show our personalities through it. And we love that our little guy's getting into it now too. So it's a blast for us.
Does anybody like your mom, for example, or anybody in your life question like why do you pose like that for you know what I mean?
um, so I would say my parents are maybe blissfully unaware of why we do it, but they love it because our child is in it now. So they've never questioned it in that regard. But a lot of times, we'll get friends like, "What are you guys looking at? Like, why aren't you looking at the camera? Like, what is she holding? Why is he sitting?" So a lot of questions come up. All of which we anticipate and just kind of laugh it off, and it's just a kind of a fun experience in general. But
Not to
something
throw
my
anyone
dad
under the
had
bus
said,
who doesn't have a sense of humor.
right. Something my dad had said, questioning some of the photos I took. I used to be really into landscape photography. Loved it. Would travel to places and try to take in all that beauty in a photo. And one time, like, and I was showing my parents some of my like photos that I had recently taken. My dad goes, why aren't there any people in these photos? Like, he just didn't get like he's like,
Ouch.
yeah, like that's
Well,
a cool picture, but like where's like it would look a lot better if some people were in it.
it's a landscape, Dad.
Yeah. So that was just an awesome comment of my dad, who's not necessarily artistic, because that was my mom, but he's understanding what art is through us. So that was just a very innocent and fun question for him to ask.
This is slightly related. I came home from a vacation one time, and my sister asked me, "Were you even at this trip?" And she was implying that like I took all these great pictures because I love to try to capture things in a beautiful way, but like I didn't take pictures of myself, and like to me that was sort of saying like, well, I don't want to just aggrandize. I don't want to just sort of like glorify myself or like take selfies. I think this is before selfies was even a word. And
Right.
so on my next trip, I was in like every picture, just like hardcore. Like, look, I was
Showed
here,
her. Yeah.
every picture. And,
No, that's funny.
like that's different because what you're saying, you're capturing the beauty of landscapes and the world. And that's definitely something. But then also separately, people and our relationships are also really deeply important to us. And she, no matter how cool of a place I went, she doesn't really care. She wants to see me. Right. But
Yeah. So that's again
so
understanding a person's perspective and what they're looking at as beauty and what they see as the more important aspect of maybe traveling too.
yeah, keep doing those landscape photos though, because those are scalable. When you talk about passive income, you can't make passive income from a person's face, but you can't usually, but you can from a
Right.
landscape photos.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's something that I have not looked into, but I might because
You
that's a
should.
great idea.
You have a beautiful one behind you. Did you take that?
Thank you. Yeah, that's Mount Olympus at Pacific Northwest, right on
Nice.
Hurricane Ridge. Awesome, awesome trip out there. That was man, 8 years ago, probably right around the time that you were leaving. But
My old
anyway,
stomping grounds. I'm originally from Vancouver, Washington, by Portland.
yeah. So I
Pretty
could
place.
I think I was able to see it from one of those mountains.
I should know that, but I don't remember.
Okay, I know it was a Canadian port of some sort. I don't know if it was Vancouver or not, but awesome
Oh,
area up there. I'm jealous that you got to be up there. But
so you might be confusing my Vancouver uh, with the Canadian Vancouver because Vancouver,
oh,
Washington is
okay.
right just across the border from Portland, Oregon. So it's the south part of Washington state.
Did not know that.
They say, what do they say? Vancouver, BC. No, wait, Washington, not DC. Vancouver, not BC.
Ah, okay. That's a good. I'll remember that now. I had
That's
no
the
idea.
one.
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
Well,
So what from where I was, we could see different mountains. I think it was called Mount Hood,
yep.
and but also I was there when Mount St. Helens erupted, and we have some ash from
Wow.
that. Like it was just filled up our house area, and our gutters were full of ash for years
Jeez, that would
because
be pretty
which is
scary.
pretty far from our house, but it blew in our direction, which was a good
Gotcha.
thing because then it didn't land on the city that it was closest to.
Jeez. Fun fact. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I did
useless
take a peek at your Instagram.
tidbits.
Oh, sorry, John.
What,
And you
Jer?
do have beautiful landscape photography, which is cool.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I was going to ask, did you want to plug yourself at all with any social medias or like what you're doing with your business at all? Just
I'm
say where it is or
sure.
not
Like, I
really.
guess if there's any listeners out there who host charity golf events,
Oh, there will
but
be.
yeah. So if Charity Golf International, it's an awesome thing to help increase participation, add some entertainment and wow factor to events. So I since 2019 individually have helped raise over $2.5 million for charities, several
Wow.
hundred different ones in those years. So it's um, 50, 60 other people like me that travel around the country helping out great causes. So
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Well,
thank you
Andrew,
guys.
thank you so much for your time. You're the man.
Thank you guys. No, this was a blast. Let me know how I can help out in any way. And great seeing you guys and catching up.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, it was great.
I have a feeling this is going to happen again someday. Will do. You
Thanks,
too,
Andrew.
Andrew.
See ya.
See you, brother.